Your breath fogs the display window as you peer at mechanical elves crafting toys, miniature trains winding through snowy villages, and animatronic reindeer preparing for Christmas Eve. Behind you, hundreds of other families wait their turn, all drawn to Hudson's legendary holiday windows. Inside, a 9-story Christmas tree towers through the store's grand atrium, while 12,000 employees manage 200 departments across 33 levels. Indeed, this wasn't just Detroit's greatest department store. It was a monument to American retail that would ultimately face a fate as dramatic as its rise. In today's episode of Old Money Mansions, we seek to answer the question, what transformed this beloved holiday destination from the heart of Detroit's golden age into a building that the city itself would choose to destroy? What we'll find lies behind a story of ambition, transformation, and the price we sometimes pay for progress, as we describe. Why Detroit demolished its greatest Christmas store. During the golden age of American retail, Hudson's downtown Detroit flagship stood as a commercial colossus, occupying an entire city block with 2.2 million square feet spread across 33 levels, including 5 basement floors and various mezzanine levels. At its peak in the 1950s, the store employed over 12,000 people, managing some 200 departments that offered everything from haute couture to household goods, serving an extraordinary volume of customers that could reach hundreds of thousands during the holiday season. But it was during Christmas that Hudson's truly transformed into something extraordinary. The store's elaborate window displays along Woodward Avenue became an annual pilgrimage for families across Michigan. Each year brought new mechanical marvels, intricate scenes of elves crafting toys, reindeer preparing for Christmas Eve, and miniature winter villages complete with moving trains and twinkling lights. The displays were so popular that police had to manage the crowds that gathered, their breath fogging the glass as they pressed close to catch every detail. Inside, the grand main hall hosted a magnificent 9-story Christmas tree, a technological feat decorated with thousands of lights that reflected off the store's brass fixtures and marble floors. The tree became such an iconic symbol that its annual lighting ceremony drew massive crowds, marking the official start of Detroit's holiday season. The 12th floor transformed into the legendary Santaland and Toy Town, where during peak Christmas periods, up to 450,000 visitors would come to experience the magic. Children could visit with Santa in his custom-built cottage, surrounded by elaborate themed displays and demonstration areas showcasing the latest toys from America and Europe. The wait to see Santa could stretch for hours, but few complained. It was a cherished Detroit tradition. Hudson's contribution to Detroit's holiday culture extended beyond its walls. The store played a significant role in establishing Detroit's Thanksgiving Day Parade in collaboration with other local organizations. This parade, which began in 1924, helped establish Detroit's holiday traditions and marked the ceremonial beginning of the Christmas shopping season in the city. Even in summer months, the store maintained its reputation for spectacle. The building's various floors hosted fashion shows that rivaled Paris runway events, while the store's restaurants served thousands of customers per hour during peak times. Special exhibitions brought culture and commerce together, with displays ranging from imported European artworks to the latest automotive innovations from Detroit's booming car industry. Yet by the early 1950s, subtle signs of change began to appear. The post-war shift towards suburban living was already beginning to reshape American cities, and Detroit was no exception. The rise of shopping centers in outlying areas would soon present unprecedented challenges to downtown retail. But for now, Hudson's remained what the Detroit Free Press called it, the heart of the city's heart. Joseph Lothian Hudson's journey to retail success began long before the famous store that would bear his name. Born in Newcastle upon Tyne, England in 1846, he immigrated with his family to North America in 1855 at the age of 9. Growing up during Detroit's industrial expansion, young Hudson gained valuable retail experience that would shape his future endeavors. In 1881, at the age of 35, Hudson opened his first retail store inside the Detroit Opera House. The timing proved fortuitous. Detroit was entering a period of unprecedented growth, driven by the early stirrings of what would become the automotive industry. As the city's population swelled with new workers and their families, Hudson's business grew accordingly, built on his foundational principle of quality merchandise at fair prices, backed by a guarantee of satisfaction. The success of that first store led to expansion, and by 1891, Hudson had relocated to a larger space near Capitol Park. The company's growth mirrored Detroit's own meteoric rise, and in 1911, Hudson and his board made the crucial decision to break ground on what would become their flagship location on Woodward Avenue. J.L. Hudson would see his vision begin to take shape, though he passed away on the 5th of July, 1912, shortly after construction had started. Between 1911 and 1946, Hudson's underwent a series of major expansions that transformed the original building into an ever larger retail complex. The architecture itself told the story of American department store evolution. The building's various sections showcased changing commercial styles, from early 20th century commercial Chicago school design to Art Deco elements added in later expansions. The internal structure was equally impressive, featuring advanced elevator systems, pneumatic tube networks for transactions, and sophisticated heating and cooling systems that were state-of-the-art for their time. The building's growth was carefully planned to create a unified shopping experience despite its multiple expansions. Each addition was integrated seamlessly with existing sections, ultimately creating a vast retail empire of 2.2 million square feet. The final structure included 33 levels, with 5 basement floors, multiple mezzanine levels, and various setbacks, creating a distinctive stepped profile on the Detroit skyline. By the end of World War II, Hudson's had achieved something remarkable: the largest department store in the world by floor space. The building's massive scale reflected both the company's success and its faith in Detroit's future. But this very scale, which seemed so logical during Detroit's boom years, would later prove challenging when the city's fortunes began to shift. As the 1950s dawned, new patterns in American life were emerging that would test the very concept of the downtown department store. The 1950s marked the beginning of profound changes that would reshape both Detroit and Hudson's place within it. The very prosperity that Hudson's had helped create was now driving fundamental shifts in the city's landscape. Detroit's population, which had peaked at 1.85 million in 1950, began a steady decline driven by a complex mix of factors: suburbanization, industrial restructuring, racial tensions, and broader economic challenges that would reshape the city's retail landscape. Hudson's responded to these changes by following its customers outward. In 1954, the company opened its first suburban branch at Northland Center in Southfield. At the time of its opening, Northland was the largest shopping center in the United States, representing a new era in retail history. The center was a dramatic departure from downtown shopping, a modern, air-conditioned complex with abundant free parking and simplified layouts that appealed to increasingly car-dependent shoppers. The success of Northland led to more suburban locations: Eastland in 1957, Westland in 1965, and other branches throughout the metro area. But each suburban success came at a cost to the downtown flagship store. The new branches weren't just convenient alternatives, they represented a fundamental shift in American shopping habits. The sprawling, multi-level downtown emporium, with its elaborate services and formal atmosphere, began to feel outdated compared to the streamlined efficiency of suburban stores. The downtown location's massive size, once its greatest asset, became increasingly difficult to maintain as foot traffic declined. The challenges facing Hudson's downtown store weren't unique to Detroit. Across America, downtown department stores struggled with similar demographic shifts. However, Detroit's transformation was particularly dramatic. The 1967 civil unrest accelerated suburban flight, while the 1970s oil crisis and foreign competition began eroding the auto industry that had built Detroit's middle class. The downtown area, once bustling with shoppers and workers, grew increasingly empty. Throughout the 1970s, Hudson's tried various strategies to maintain its downtown presence. The company renovated departments, adjusted its merchandise mix, and launched promotional campaigns to draw customers back downtown. But the numbers told a stark story. Floor by floor, departments were consolidated or closed entirely. The restaurant operations, once serving thousands daily, scaled back as lunch crowds dwindled. The famous Christmas displays continued, but attracted fewer visitors each year. By the early 1980s, the downtown Hudsons had become a symbol of Detroit's broader struggles. The store that had once employed 12,000 people now operated with a fraction of that workforce. The vast retail space, designed for the crowds of Detroit's golden age, felt cavernous and empty. When Hudson's finally announced the downtown store's closure in 1983, it marked more than the end of a retail era. It signaled a fundamental shift in American urban life that would continue to challenge cities across the nation. When Hudson's closed its doors on the 17th of January of 1983, the building entered a transitional phase. Approximately 1,100 headquarters staff continued to occupy office space in the structure until May 1984, when Hudson's formally merged into the department store division of Dayton-Hudson Corporation. By late 1986, all executive and buying positions had relocated to Minneapolis, leaving the massive 2 million-plus square foot structure largely vacant. In December 1989, the building changed hands, selling to Southwestern Associates of Windsor, Ontario. This transfer marked the end of the Hudson's corporate connection to the property that had defined downtown Detroit for generations. The new owners faced the daunting challenge of finding a viable use for a structure whose very size, 33 levels including basements, made redevelopment economically challenging. Throughout the early 1990s, various proposals emerged for the building's reuse: a marketplace, office space, mixed-use development. But each plan faltered against the harsh realities of Detroit's real estate market and the immense challenges posed by the building's scale. As years passed, the vacant structure began showing signs of deterioration, though the process was gradual rather than immediate. By the mid-1990s, the building's condition had become a significant concern for city officials and downtown development advocates. In 1996, the city of Detroit acquired the property through condemnation. After extensive evaluation of structural reports and economic feasibility studies, officials concluded that demolition would be necessary to clear the way for new development in the heart of downtown. The demolition project required careful coordination among multiple contractors. Walbridge Aldinger and Jenkins Construction managed the initial phases, including preparation work and hazardous material removal. The final demolition was entrusted to Controlled Demolition, Inc., specialists in bringing down large urban structures. The building's location in the heart of downtown, sharing walls with neighboring structures, required extraordinary safety measures and precise planning. On the 24th of October 1998, thousands gathered to witness the end of an era. At 5:45 p.m., a series of carefully timed explosions collapsed the building inward upon itself. In mere seconds, the structure that had taken decades to build disappeared into a cloud of dust. When the debris settled, Detroit's skyline had changed irrevocably. The physical presence of Hudson's was gone, though its imprint on the city's memory remained indelible. In the aftermath of the October 1998 demolition, the Hudson site stood as a vacant lot in the heart of downtown Detroit. The 2.1-acre parcel along Woodward Avenue, once home to the largest department store by floor space in America, remained undeveloped for years. This emptiness in the city's core served as a stark reminder of both Hudson's former prominence and downtown Detroit's ongoing challenges. The years following the demolition saw Detroit continuing to grapple with questions about urban renewal and historic preservation. The Hudson's block, sitting empty in such a prominent location, became a symbol of the difficulties facing downtown redevelopment efforts. While various proposals for the site emerged over the years, none progressed beyond the planning stages for nearly 2 decades. The site's long period of vacancy wasn't merely a result of local economic conditions. Its location and scale presented unique challenges for potential developers. The same factors that had made Hudson successful in its heyday, its central location and massive footprint, now posed significant hurdles for any new construction project. The lot's size and prominence demanded a development that could meaningfully contribute to Detroit's downtown. Yet the economic realities of such a large-scale project proved daunting. This period of inactivity finally ended when plans for a new development, known as Hudson's Detroit, began to take shape. The project represented the first serious attempt to reclaim this historically significant site since the original building's demolition. While the new development would be distinctly different from its predecessor, its very existence signaled a new chapter in the site's history. The story of Hudson's, from its rise to its demolition and the subsequent years of vacancy, paralleled Detroit's own journey through the latter half of the 20th century. The empty lot where the department store once stood remained not just a gap in Detroit's skyline, but a reminder of how dramatically American cities had changed since Hudson's golden age. And now, we'd like to see you in the comments. Are you a native of the Detroit area? And do you remember Hudson's? We look forward to hearing your experiences. And thanks for joining us for another episode of Old Money Mansions. Cheers, until next time.